like to start all my interviews off with a little bit of a softball. What made you want to become an actress?
Oh, okay. So I was always, the dream was always to do musical theatre, but I was more of a dancer than I was anything else. But my first kind of proper like insight into, oh, could I be an actor, was when I was in my last year at performing arts school. I was 18, I think, and I was cast as Anita in West Side Story. And I for my final year, oh my God, this is such an amazing role, and I loved the new movie. And so I thought, oh, I could maybe do the, acting thing, because I loved the acting parts. And then I got cast in a musical, Aida, written by Elton John and Tim Rice. And it was the acting parts that I really, really loved. And I was told that I was cast because of my acting. I was like, oh, okay. And I was looking at the leads, and I was like, quite like what you guys are doing. I think I want to do that. And so I was like, okay, so I'll go to, I was in Germany at the time, and there was this, like, at the Hauptbahnhof, or the Bahnhof, I don't know. I'm sorry, German people. But it's the train station. The train station sold international magazines. So there was these English magazines, right, that I would go there and buy. And I was reading, is when Scarlett Johansson was kind of like right front and center. It was her kind of up, when she was coming up. And I read that she went to Lee Strasberg in New York, and I was like, that's where I'm going. So after Germany, I went to Strasberg in New York. I was there for like a year, and studied, and I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, I think I can do this. So it was really kind of a slow kind of, I also was injured dance-wise, so that was another reason to kind of transition. But yeah, it was just that it kind of found me. I was like, oh, kind of came, it wasn't like, oh, I want to go and be an actor. It was just like, oh, okay, I can do this. Oh, right. Kind of thing.
That's pretty cool to kind of just like stumble upon it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that fate thing, you know what I mean? You kind of feel like,
Sure.
hey, it's there. You play Leon in the upcoming series Star Trek Strange New Worlds. What attracted you to this role?
The fact that I got it first. I mean, listen, I can't pick and choose at the moment. Like what it was the pandemic, and I took it. I'm going to be honest, because I wasn't a fan before, right? Obviously I am now, but I don't think I'd ever watched a full episode of Star Trek. I'd seen bits on TV, but like I didn't know. I was like, okay, Star Trek. And then it was only after getting the role that I realized I was so lucky to be a part of this world. And, I had 7 pages of dialogue, and I didn't, I had no idea. I knew I was going to be chief of security, but didn't really know what that would entail in the Star Trek world. So it was a kind of like a blind kind of like jumping off the cliff. Cool, let's do it. What's it going to be? I don't know. But this amazing parachute came out, and I was like, whoa, this arc is incredible. She gets to do so many things. She gets to wear so many different costumes. She gets to play with all the different characters. Like she has relationships with all of them, because she's security, right? She's everywhere. She can be anywhere. She gets to go on all the missions, and she has this kind of link to some dangerous people. So, it was all like a massive gift and completely unexpected.
So when you go back and watch some of the older stuff, do you draw from some of that stuff to bring to your character, or did you kind of just go based off kind of some of the stuff that they already have given you?
Well, the thing is, the writers are so incredible. They've written her so well. And because she's new, right, they have free reign to do whatever they want with her. But they cleverly brought in those kind of aspects from her ancestry, right? The aspects of being a very very skilled, in combat, and she's tactical, she's a fighter, this stern outer appearance, and so those kind of little things have trickled through. But like she's just incredible, and I even now, like, I obviously can't talk about season 2, but like even now I'm just still like blown away by what they're giving me, what they're writing.
So in doing my research about who Christina is, I was fascinated by your story, and some of your stories. You've spent some time over the last few years kind of rediscovering not just who Christina was as an actress, but Christina the person. What kind of made you want to do that?
For me, it was, I feel like, coming from a Chinese, I have a Chinese father, English mother, and throughout my childhood being made to feel not good enough, being made to feel less than, has lived in me, and ultimately the thing that has my self-growth kind of started around when I was, I guess, quite young, like 2010. I feel like I started like working on this stuff because I wasn't getting the roles. My dream felt so far away from me. I was like, how do I get that dream? How do I make that a reality in my life? And so for me, whenever I feel some kind of anxiety or pain or obstacle in my life, that is what encourages me to grow and understand it and understand myself, to get over the side of it so that I can get to the dream, But the funny thing is, the funny thing is that I've learned is that actually the journey is the thing. It's the journey. It's not about getting from A to B. It's about enjoying the moments, right? And all the big philosophers have all said the same thing. And there's the really great video, you can find it on YouTube. Alan Watts is some I don't know what the name of the video is, but it's basically, he says, like, you don't go to a night of music to go and watch them play the last note, otherwise you wouldn't go. You go to hear every single little note, the high notes and the low notes, you go to experience the whole thing, otherwise you just turn up, bang, and you'd go home. So I thought that was a really nice analogy to kind of imagine life as a dance or a piece of music,
Throughout that rejection, you were facing that rejection, and kind of maybe even having a little bit of self-doubt within that process. Mm-hmm. What is kind of your advice to young, aspiring little boys, little girls, even teenagers, even somebody maybe in your shoes at that specific time? What is your advice to them at this moment?
So for me, like, I mean, there's so many little things that have helped me, but for me, number one, I would say what helped me the most is, number one, you've got to be okay with where you are. Like, if you keep trying to bury out of where you are, you just dig yourself deeper. It's like you have to be okay with where you are, because where you are is actually helping you get to where you want to be. And maybe you can't see that, but everything has an equal opposite, right? So cold weather, hot weather, right? Extreme opposites. If you're, the opposite of sadness is happiness, right? So when you are going through those down times, or you feel like you're not where you want to be, remember that it's actually creating the opposite of that. Is that you do reach your dream and you are there. But this is part of the creation of life, right? And the winter and the spring, like flowers, you see it all the time, like they die and they go through this hard winter, but they come up in the spring. So it's being okay with where you are, because that's exactly where you're supposed to be right now, and it's okay. But then other than that, I would say we are all important. We are all, and you may look at a star or your idol or your peer, right? And you may look at them and go, oh, they've got this and that, and they're doing this, and why am I not doing that? And, you know, putting them on a pedestal, or thinking you can never get there, or that what you're doing is not important. The life you're living is not important. Maybe you are waiting tables, or, you know, behind a bar, and you're comparing yourself to that person over there who's on the red carpet, and that's where you want to be. But what you are doing, we all made of the same thing, right? And therefore there's no two people are the same, right? And even if you're a twin, you're not the same, because your experiences are completely different. So there's only one you in this world. We're all made of the same thing. Therefore, there is a part of you in that person. A part of you, we're all the same. We're more or less developed in different areas, but we're essentially all the same thing, made of all the same thing. So then when you see that person up there, your peer or whatever, the role that you should have got, or actually celebrate, because that is you there's a part of you who got that role too, you know? So that was a big one for me, to kind of understand and really not compare myself to anyone, because there will be things in you that person doesn't have also.
I'd like to, I feel like you spoke to me, you called me out a little bit on the inside. So I just want to, do I send you the therapy bill now? Or, I mean, I felt that, because you're right though. It is right. You know what I mean? Where I am, you know, constantly compare yourself, or may not be where I want to be as the person I am. And it's sometimes you need to hear it, you know what I mean? And that's what I took from that. So thank you. And I'll send you a bill, or you can send me the bill. I'm sorry. You can send me, I'm trying to send you the bill, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Ricky.
So another thing that I found out, that you were doing some stuff behind the camera as well.
I love it. Yeah.
Writing, producing. What can you tell us about it?
Not loads, to be honest, but I love creating. I love working with a team. I love bringing something from the ground up. I love behind the scenes, like really do, like almost as much as I love being in front of the camera. And I really hope to keep going in that direction with all of that stuff. But I have been working on a project. It's kind of been in the making most of the time. It's been in my head, but it's been in the making for about 8 years now. And it was born out of the fact that I wasn't getting given the roles that I wanted to play, or telling the story I wanted to tell. So I was like, well, can I swear on this? So I was like, fuck that shit. I need to do it myself. I need to do it myself, tell my story. And when I actually, and for a long while, I was like, nobody's going to want to read this. It's not important. Who's going to want to, this isn't good enough. You know, it was a confidence thing. It was like a self-worth thing. And then I had a friend who kept, you know, I told her the story, and she was like, I remember we were doing like the race athletics track. I used to do parkour. So she was my parkour friend, and we were, you know, training, running around the tracks, doing like, I think we were trying to do 5K or 10K, whatever it was. Not trying, we did. But I remember we were running. She was like, tell me about this story. And that's how I told her. And when I finished, she stopped running, and I kept running. And I was like, what are you doing? Come on, we're nearly there. We're going to beat our time. Come on. And she just stopped, and it really landed with me. She was like, Christina, you have to write this. You have to write this story. And I was like, really? You think so? And she's like, mm-hmm. And she was a friend that pushed me until it was, I think it was during the pandemic, or no, it was just before, the year before the pandemic is when I started to actually like it was after Crazy Rich Asians had come out. And I suddenly got this feeling of, oh my God, now is that, because I knew there would be a time to write it. I knew the story and I knew there would be a time. And I kept saying that to her. I was like, no, there'll be a time. There'll be a time. Crazy Rich Asians came out, was huge. And I was like, oh my God. And I think The Farewell was around that time as well. And then I bumped into her at the tube station and she was like, have you done that thing? And I was like, well, I'm helping a friend with a comedy. I'm helping her with her comedy series. And she's like, have you done that thing? Have you written it, your thing? And I was like, no. And she was really stern and mean with me. And she was like, you need to do that. And I was like, I always felt a bit scared. I was like, okay. And then I went, and then like very soon after that, it was in 2019, kind of like beginning of summer 2019. And I got my laptop out and I started typing and I just cried because it was the time, you know, and it's a very, very personal story. And it came through me. The story, it's almost not mine, you know, it came through me, and this story has a life of its own. It so quickly got into the hands of incredible people who are helping me do this. And yeah, so hopefully I can talk about it more at some point, but I'm loving the process of it. I'm loving writing, creating, you know, I'm also producing it, and I will be in it as well. So yeah, so it's really a passion of mine alongside my acting.
That's incredible. And speaking to that and creating that, obviously writing and producing. And so we've seen a big shift over the last couple of years doing being put in a box, a lot of us being put in a box. How did you find yourself staying creative during that time?
You know what? I had the best pandemic. It almost feels weird saying that because I know it was a terrible time for a lot of people. And I completely understand that. And I'm not belittling any experience that anybody else has had during that time at all. But for me, because I think it comes from my dad, my Chinese heritage. It's that whole thing of like, work, we must work, and we must keep working until we drop dead kind of thing, right? So for me to be able to go, oh, well, no one's working, so I can actually relax. And I think it was the first time that I properly, fully, as an adult, had gone, wow, and just completely not worried about what was going to come or what was going to happen, because we didn't know what was going to happen. It could have been then for all of us, for all we knew, and that funnily is when I let go and I completely surrendered to whatever it was that was going to happen, is when my TV show got taken on, where a production company took on my TV show. And it was when I got cast in Star Trek. All these things started happening, and I genuinely think it was because I had let it go and surrender. And that is one of the hardest things, I think, for everyone in the world to do, right? We're all trying to control. That's everyone's problem. But it's the easiest thing to say, oh, just let it go, surrender, let it go. But part of what I work with with my life coach as well is the actual practical way of how do you let something go, So I think for me, continuing working on my show during the pandemic was a great focus, and I got my pupster, Runa Boona, who is also in the show. She's in episode 8, so we'll look out for that. And training her and everything. So yeah, the pandemic weirdly was a great time for me.